welcome back to the immediate Sunderland What the Falk reaction pod. I am at home as I've been ill and my throat is gone, as I know that I've banged on about, so I was unable to get to the game today. But who cares about that? Sunderland have won, and we're here to immediately react to it, chat about it, and get our teeth stuck into a massive, massive 3 points. To join me is Ross. Ross, how you doing? You okay?
Hi, buzzing. Happy New Year, to everyone listening, and you guys as well. Hope you have a what's the word? Prosperous
Nice.
one, whatever it is. Aye, that one.
Preposterous.
Whatever the fuck it is. I'm just buzzing.
Prosperous.
Aye. Anyways, back to the football. Let's start with the football.
There's
Yeah,
the pod title.
yeah, definitely. There you go. I'm just making things easy for you, Graham. But yeah, buzzing with that. Was a bit nervy at the end there, but we just what I mean? It was a game that kind of played out a way that I think Regis Le Bris kind of knew it would. He got his formation, tactics, everything spot on. And it's a huge 3 points because results today mean that now we're 2 points away with everybody playing the same amount of games, but we're well back in the mix for automatics. And we said that if we lose tonight, it's probably game over for automatics, but a win and the results going our way in the other games means that we're well back in the hunt.
Dave, you're also with us. Look, a massive, massive win, and I think more akin to the wins that we had earlier in the season against like a Burnley or a Middlesbrough. It didn't come up without its nerves at the end, but again, like we said in those games back at the start of the season or near the start of the season, I didn't really feel like Sheffield United had too many chances outside of possession. And as far as I'm concerned, we had more chances to finish the game in the second half, even having less of the ball. So ultimately, a bit of a return to form in many ways for Sunderland and what we've seen earlier in the season and what got us so excited, and just a massive win. But look, we're reacting immediately to this, Dave. But like, how pleasing is that?
Yeah, great, and I think it's a without sounding like Jimmy Bullard, it's a bit of a victory for football as well. It was a proper old-fashioned game. We've lined up 4-4-2, and we looked dangerous every time we went forward. We looked like we came back. It was exciting. It was actually exciting to watch. I think the crowd gave us a little bit more than they have done for a while because it wasn't slow and deliberate and a chess match, effectively. I don't know if anyone's been to a chess match before, but you didn't tend to chant and scream and shout. So a little bit more direct, a little bit more edge of the seat. And yeah, we've had to ride it out a bit at the end, but there was no real clear-cut chances, like you just said. Yeah, really enjoyable. Keeps us in the mix. If we can just keep in touch, we've said it for a couple of weeks, just keep in touch with everyone else and get a couple of experienced players in. Who knows what's going to happen? Yeah, and there's plenty of players to pick from today who you could just rant and rave about, I think.
Ross, I'll fire that one to you. I give quite a passionate defence of a certain player on the Blackburn review show because of a chance that he missed. I'll be honest, I thought he was getting absolute pelters and it made me sad after it. I kind of alluded to it on Twitter, which I don't really tend to do. I tend to just not react to reactive stuff because I react to stuff myself, and I've said it a few times, but I felt like my ender got absolutely slaughtered after Blackburn for something that, as I said at the time, a 17-year-old kid that's played 11 games, or started 11 or 12 games as it was at the time in his career for Sunderland, didn't really deserve. And it was a bad miss of Blackburn. And then he came in against Stoke and he missed another sitter. And I felt like people had said, oh, he's League One, he's crap, he's never going to make it. And I felt like people were really harsh. And look, everyone's entitled to that opinion. And this is not about me being right or about me being wrong because he could be crap next week. But I thought tonight for me, Ross, my ender showed why I defended him so much because I think there's just something there. I thought he absolutely tortured the best defence in the league. Statistically, I think they're the best defence. They're certainly the best defence in my head. And I thought they couldn't handle him tonight. And look, if that's my ender's capabilities, when he gets a bit older and he gets better at his finishing or he becomes more experienced at his finishing, could have had a hat-trick tonight, but a goal for him and an assist for him, offensively, defensively, not just his goals and his assist, he ran his absolute bollocks off. And if we don't praise him for that after that and don't see what he's got and persist with it a bit more, I don't know what you do. I thought he's brilliant tonight, Ross, wasn't he?
Aye, really good. Him and Wilson linked up tremendously as a front two. Old school to see two strikers on from the start. But it really worked. Their two centre halves were absolutely ran ragged by them. My ender's better when he doesn't overthink things and overcomplicate things, and when he uses his physicality and his sheer raw power and pace that he's got to get out the defence. Um, but it's got to be alluded to. The first touch, I know it's an error by the defender for the goal, but that first touch is brilliant, and he's still got a lot to do, and he gives the keeper the eyes. The keeper goes down the wrong way, so it's showing that he's learning. So that's the main thing for me. My ender is very inconsistent. He's that kind of player. He's going to be that kind of player. We've played 4 games now: Norwich, Blackburn, Stoke, and Sheffield United. Against Norwich and against Sheffield United at home, he's been brilliant. Away from home, he hasn't been good. Maybe that'll happen, and that kind of, to be fair, shadowing the way the team's playing. So it's not just him. It's just highlighted higher because obviously the chances he missed has cost us points, but then his performance today has won us points. So yeah, it's one of them. I was critical, not as much of the Blackburn, but the Stoke one was the one that bugged me because it's a free header, at least hit the target. Um, but tonight he was really good, reeling up well, and he was unlucky. He could have had a hat trick tonight. The keeper pulled off some good saves from him, and he put one just wide. But yeah, that's the kind of Mayenda I want to see more often, who can just have a go. You know what I mean? Not overcomplicate things. And what I liked about tonight as well is obviously, I don't think the worrying thing for me was after Isidore done his back, I don't think he was as effective because that definitely did jar him. But Mayenda kept on running the channels and he kept on winning fouls as well to get us higher up the pitch. All right, we might have lost the ball straight away from every free kick, which is a different story altogether. But yeah, Mayenda, that's the Mayenda I want to see. And again, 19-year-old, he's going to have good and bad games. But if he can take that kind of performance and be a bit more consistent with it, then there's definitely a player in there.
I honestly thought he was excellent tonight. I think, look, I've said all I needed to say before I even asked you the question and rambled probably a bit too much. So I'll fire it on to you, Dave. Look, there's been people within this podcast I feel he's not up to the standard. And look, Brad's not on here to defend himself and say I've changed my mind or I stick by that. But he's come in for criticism, correctly so, for missing the chances. I think he's shown tonight again, like I said to Ross, why I feel personally he's worth persisting with and why some fans feel like he's worthy of more than the criticism that he had. But how good was he for you tonight, Dave? And was there any other players that stood out? Because I thought there was more than just my ender as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I was the same. I obviously hosting the other day after Stoke wasn't the easiest task in the world. I couldn't defend the fact that he didn't hit the target. I'm exactly the same as Ross. I'm not having the fact that he should have scored. Yes, it's a clear-cut chance. He was open. He was free. He's got to hit the target. But let's give Johansson a bit of credit. He could have quite easily plucked something out of the air because that's the type of game he had. The Blackburn one, for me, it's neither here nor there. Yes, we're desperate for him to put it in the back of the net, but it shouldn't have gotten back to 2-2. It should have been a null and void chance. I said it at the time. I stick by it. Tonight, he's fantastic. And we've had a few heated discussions, shall we say. Like you say, Brad's not here to defend it, but I know Brad and I know he'd stick with it. He's as fair as they come as well. He would say that Mayenda had a good game tonight. And ultimately, I think he'll make it as a half decent footballer just because he's an athlete, and he proved that tonight because he did not stop running. He was physical when he had to be. He put his chance away. Let's be honest, it's really easy to fold under the pressure of that chance because he's been in that situation the last couple of times. But playing centrally has probably affected his psychology on the chance a little bit. So yeah, really glad for him and really pleased he did all right. After that, I thought Adil Aouchiche first half was brilliant.
We have two. Why have we got two Rosses?
I don't know, but I don't ever need to see that ever again. That has ruined.
I don't know what's
night.
happened. My phone went off, and then all of a sudden it's come up. I've had to rejoin, and now it says I'm still on. So there's two Rosses.
Oh no, there's not. You've gone.
I'm back.
You're back.
Honestly,
this means nothing to anyone listening, by the way, but we'll go with it. It's fine.
that has shook me up that much. I forgot what I was saying. Yeah, Aouchiche out on the left. Really enjoyed his first half performance. Andy worked hard off the ball as well. I thought he was brilliant. Dan nailed Job, considering they were doing a 2-man midfield for once instead of 3. Thought they were fantastic. Thought Hume had a good game defensively. Luke was not great, but then there's little glimpses. There was when we were under pressure in the second half. There's one pass he's took out like two lines of Sheffield United players, and you see what he's all about. He's, I think he's probably going to be one of those adults who's diagnosed with ADHD in later life, because that is definitely his problem. He's just a bit rash at times. He just loves the banter and he just can't stop himself. Pato made a couple of good saves. Yeah, there was nobody that I was insulted by tonight. Not saying something for me, innit?
In a true Lico 9 style, now for something completely different. Ross, look, if you're an ADHD sufferer, so am I. Deal with it. Just a joke. Ross, I wanted to
trust
touch
me,
on...
I'm definitely ADHD as well.
Dave touched on someone there who we talked about after the Stoke game. Adil Aouchiche couldn't even... French Dave. He couldn't even get in the squad at the start of the season. To my memory, he came on against Sheffield United, and I think we all sort of accepted... Look, Reggie sold him at Lorient. Lorient sold him at Lorient and decided that he probably didn't fancy him here as well. He's got back into the team, not just because of injuries, that's helped, but I think hard work. I think when he came on, he's shown something. Tonight, and especially against Stoke, I think a lot of people will see how good of a player he is technically. I don't think anyone would really debate that. I think a few of us felt that maybe Regis didn't rate him because he wasn't as good off the ball. One big thing I really liked about Adil tonight, I've always thought he was technically quite good. You've always sort of saw that about him, Ross. But as I said before about Eliza Mayenda, Adil worked his absolute knackers off tonight. He worked his knackers off. And you've got to be in his headspace with Adil, right? The manager that came in sold him to us last year. Obviously doesn't fancy him. He's back in because of injuries and because he's worked hard to get himself back in the squad. You know, there's two of them there, him and Abdullah Bar. One of them's worked their way back in. One of them didn't even get on the bench tonight. So, you know, respect to him for even being in contention to get back in the team on the bench, let alone in the squad. But he's also not let it affect him, because there must be a part of him in the back of his mind when he thinks, oh, when Mundle's fit, when Watson's fit, you know, where am I going to stay in? But tonight, he's worked his absolute socks off and played a major part in what could end up being a massive win for us at the end of the season. And I think no matter what happens with Adil Aouchiche, whether you think he should be in the team every week or whether you think, you know, he's nowhere near good enough or whatever it is, I think you've got to say tonight, Ross, like, he's put some respect on his own name tonight. And I think you do respect the performance he put in because of the effort that he put in. He was knackered at the end. And I'm just delighted for him, to be honest. But, like, how much respect did you deserve for that performance?
He's good. Aouchiche has always looked good for me. He's always been, like you say, sound. You know what I mean? Like, he's a solid 6, 7 out of 10 without looking spectacular for me. And we're seeing spells of it last season where, you know, you're like, oh, he's got something about him, he could affect a game. But again, all of the comments were from the press, what they were getting from Regis was he just won't work hard. And he's shown he can graph, you know what I mean? It's a different side of his game. I don't think he ever really played out and out on the left as well. So it's a new position. So we're seeing a different side to him. Maybe that's how he's got himself back into it as well, by saying, look, I can do that role, I can reinvent the wheel a bit. I know he played for the 21s as well and grafted, knuckled down, scored some goals in there. And he's clearly, you know, it's clearly done him good to get back in the squad. I thought, right, and I know we're praising him a lot here, I think he is technically sound. I think he he should release the ball a bit more at times. I feel like that's one of the sticking points, and that's kind of something he needs to develop as he continues in this new position, because the overlaps there from Alessi or the underlap from Job, the pass seems to be there, and that one extra touch second half didn't help us. But yeah, from a point of view where we lose Watson, we've already lost Mundle. Mayenda's not really a winger, if we're being honest. He's more effective through the middle. You needed someone to step up there, and it was a shock to see him start for me against Stoke. But I think now he stays in for me against Portsmouth. You know, he's done nothing wrong, and it might come to the end of the month where Mundle's back and he leaves. And you know what? I can still see that happening, and I'm still not totally against it, because I still believe when everybody's fit, Mundle and Watson are ahead of him in the pecking order, and that's nothing against him as a person or as a player. I just feel like they're better suited to what we've done, and that they've proved they can do it. and score goals and affect it. That's the next stage now from Aouchiche. We need him to start as a winger because Roberts got absolute pelters away. Doesn't assist, doesn't contribute, doesn't score. If you're going to play a winger in this Sunderland team the way we play, you've got to start adding assists and goals to your game. So that's the next challenge for him.
I think when it comes to Aouchiche as well, talked about how sometimes when it comes to the automatic chase, which is another thing I'm going to talk about. I'm not saying we're going to go automatic. I don't think we will, but I'm sick and tired of like the disrespect that we get across this league at points. There's a reason we're fourth, and there's a reason that we're only 2 points behind Sheffield United because we're a pretty good team. We've shown that we're a pretty good team. We don't have the same amount of money, the same amount of squad depth, and all that kind of stuff as them, and we're still almost there competing with them. And I think that needs to be respected a lot more outside of Sunderland. It isn't respected enough, but I think the big thing with Aouchiche for me is when we do talk about these Leeds and Sheffield United maybe having a stronger squad to last the season to get over the line and why we might have to accept playoffs, it's because they have the likes of a player maybe of Aouchiche's quality as their third choice. If Adil's happy kind of battling for that third choice place or making an impact off the bench when these players are fit or fancies himself, to keep up his form and keep in the squad, it's only good news for him and it's only good news for us. You've got another player there in Adil Aouchiche. I don't want to judge him. I don't know what the circumstances are, but he's nowhere near the team. He hasn't, I don't want to say he hasn't knuckled down. I don't know. But he obviously hasn't made the impact on Regis Le Bris the way that Adil Aouchiche has, and he hasn't been trusted in the way that Adil Aouchiche has, and that benefits Sunderland and it benefits him. And I'm just really delighted for him. Dave, look, we turned you from a Luke O'Nien lover into a Luke O'Nien, no, a Luke O'Nien hater. No, hang on. You were a Luke O'Nien hater, then we turned you into a Luke. We need to stop doing these immediate reaction pods. God. But you went from a Luke O'Nien hater to an extent to a Luke O'Nien lover, and then you've maintained that a little bit. If there is any negative tonight, just, have a bit of balance. Luke O'Nien was a bit, well, yeah.
Yeah, just a little bit
ropey.
Luke O'Nien, like, I guess, which is saying something. Again, you've got to take so much into account. Who knows why? Is it just because Sheffield United have some good players? Could just be. I mean, Kiefer Moore's no slouch. He knows how to play football. He's done it for a while, and he is a bit of a handful. And then, Ryan Brewster, how much did he go for back in the day? 15, 18 million, something like that. Sheffield United are not a bad team. I think there's just times Luke is guilty of being a little bit too exuberant. That's what I would give him. He certainly settled down a hell of a lot, but there was a couple of calamitous mistakes in there today, which just reminded you of the old Luke O'Nien, which I wasn't the biggest fan of. So listen, he's earned enough credit with me that it's a flash in the pan. But I hope we don't have 4 or 5 weeks of it because I can't be dealing with the stress.
Yeah, I felt O'Nien was a bit poor tonight. I wish he'd stopped the grappling and the daft stuff, but I think it says everything about my initial reaction to that penalty after it was before it was saved. Sorry, was how annoyed I was that it was exactly the same as a Stoke game, and I was just like, "Oh, for God's sake!" Like, so I suppose, look, he shouldn't do it. It's a penalty. He shouldn't do it. But his argument would be, well, it wasn't a penalty on Saturday, and Mepham had his shirt off his back. There was a couple of changes tonight. I think one's the obvious one, Ross, which would be Patrick Roberts. I think we knew Patrick Roberts was going to come in, Alexis was going to go out. We talked on the podcast a little bit on whatever day we played Stoke. I'm losing my days here. About Adil Aouchiche coming in and how we felt like Serkin had been not great since he'd come back from injury. There was something said on Sky tonight that apparently he'd been carrying a knock. I don't know if they know something that we don't. My argument would be, well, Serkin was playing the best part of 90 minutes, so if he's got an injury, don't play him. But regardless of that, I thought Aouchiche came in tonight, and I just feel like Aouchiche is one of those players that he maybe isn't in your best first 11, but there's no reason he shouldn't be, because whenever he turns up, Ross, he just puts in a shift, doesn't he? And he's like one of the better defenders in the league for me. Aouchiche is just unlucky that he's got 2 really good players in the positions like centre half. Well, 3 really good players in centre half and a really good left back in front of him that probably just slightly edge his own abilities. But he never lets us down, Aouchiche. I've never ever worried when he's in the team.
No, same. He's a solid defender. I think he's better defensively than Serkin. I think he's got more defensive nous, whereas obviously Serkin's so good at going forward too. But yeah, we did mention how Serkin was really off the boil a bit for his standards. I'm not saying he was terrible, but he's just a bit off the boil. But yeah, at least he was solid. I thought him and Aouchiche did really well first half, especially defensively. Although, I think Aouchiche, they kind of learned on the job as well. They would never play together before on the left hand side, I don't think. Um, but if Serkin is carrying a knock, then again, you've got to use your squad. You know what I mean? Like, at least he starts. If Serkin's got even not 100%, you can rotate the two of them, keep them fresh if you want to, and it would just make our life easier. And again, I'd be quite confident unless he played centre half, left back, you name it. You know what I mean? If O'Nien needed a break and played him centre half, put Serkin left back. We've kind of got that luxury now with everybody fit, and it's good. And Ballard's meant to be back, I think, after the Portsmouth game, I think it is. Then again, you never know these days. Samed will be training again next week. You never know.
Who?
Samed,
Who's that?
Mr. Next Week.
Oh, right. If you'd said next week, I would have understood who you meant, mate. But
Allegedly though, he was in full contact training yesterday.
he'll be in full contract training next week. Dave, look, my voice has gone a bit. I've got a bit excited, and because I'm slightly recovering from the flu, whilst Ashley's really not well. I think I've gone a bit overboard. I've got the cider out and that. I was on deathbed yesterday, so you can already tell my voice is going a tad. But we've got a game on Sunday against Portsmouth. They had a really good win today, Pompey. Does that make me more nervous about facing them? No, not really, because we've had a big win tonight, and I think we're in a vastly different place than where Portsmouth are. We've already recorded the preview show, and my guest largely agrees with the fact that Sunday's game's not a game Portsmouth are looking at as a place that will define a game that will define their season, Dave. But look, it could define ours. We've talked about winning games and winning the big games. I think we've done that tonight, but it's important that we don't hiccup and have the kind of Stoke results, or I don't want to say Blackburn results because it's a bit different, but teams where you feel like we can win. It means that wins over Sheffield United and stuff like that become a bonus. So it's really important that we don't just settle on our laurels and we go ahead, Dave, and win that game on Sunday as well. I think that's vital because we've got a good run of fixtures now where we can get 3 points. Dave.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, I was just checking a quick stat as I was just about to answer. Yeah, last 5 games because of that win tonight, magic 2 points. 2 points in the last 5. That's all we got to keep looking at, isn't it? And Pompey's one of those games where Wilder, there's not much I agree with Chris Wilder, but he said it tonight from his little perch, because we all know he likes to sit on there nowadays. First and foremost, we'll try and win the game, but if we don't win the game, we make sure we get something from it, and I think that's very much Sunderland's remit. That 3 points today is absolutely massive, and if it's 4 points in a week, let's probably check maybe a little bit more, but then yeah, it's fantastic. Just stay unbeaten. What's that now? 2 defeats in 18. I know there's been a lot of draws in there, but it's all momentum, isn't it? And Le Bris is finding answers to questions. Nobody ever expected to play 4-4-2 tonight effectively. He's tried something different. I'd still like him to have plan B during the match. He's a little bit guilty of that. I know we noticed a few lads out on their legs a little bit, but in the first instant, it was fantastic. The fact that he started 2 up front, and I genuinely can't see Pompey, if we stick with the 2 lads up front, provided they haven't come out of this any worse than where tonight, I can't see Pompey dealing with 2 centre forwards like that. It's quite a nice problem to have. So big game on Sunday. It's my birthday, so I'd like to think we get 3 points.
How old are you?
39, mate.
Danny Graham age that. By the way, you said about you'd like to see him have a plan B. I actually haven't heard anything he's released recently. I know he had that big first album, but since then it's not been much really. But on to less terrible jokes. Ross, I think we sometimes forget because we've just learned to love him pretty much from the minute he walked in the door because he's mental in the most wonderful way. But a cracking finish again from Wilson tonight. And it was Henry-esque, wasn't it, tonight again? And that's not I'm not overarching there. Like a lot of stuff he does, you can see he's obviously looked up to him growing up. But Wilson, for me, I think we were a bit worried when he didn't score in the sort of 7 games, but he scored a back heel and then he scored again tonight. I know Sky Sports blamed it on the lad at the back, the Serbian lad, said it was his fault, but like, look, I didn't know what game Curtis Davis watches and Don Goodman watches at times. Now, like Don, look, I know Don a little bit, but like that was just a really good finish. It had nothing to do with bad defending. And again, it's another feather in Wilson's cap for please sign him immediately, Sunderland, isn't it?
Yeah, he's what he did really well was they blamed. I'm not going to try and butcher his name. I've already butchered one.
Alan Mahodic or something like that. He's
Aye,
arguably the best centre half in the league.
yeah, he's
Outside
up
of Chris
there
Mepham.
definitely. And he baited him into slowing down. Then he was away again straight away. He's got that turn of pace, but just a brilliant finish. And he's just so you know what I mean. He had a few the first 5 minutes. Sheffield United dominated the ball, and then him and Mayenda basically had carbon copy chances where they just used the pace to get him behind. And having a striker that runs the channels in behind was what we basically had 12 months without that, and we just cried watching football, going, "Oh, can we just have a striker, please?" And now we finally got one, two when Mayenda plays up there. And again, you say we kind of take it for granted because he's been so consistent, even in when he wasn't scoring. His performances and the way the team plays with him in this as a focal point, it works. And yeah, so do you know what? He probably will score a tap in the last game of the season, and they'll be like, "Oh, there's his tap in." But until then, I don't care how he scores as long as he keeps scoring. And it's very Henry-esque the way he runs and the way he looks. So I think it's just very it just looks similar to the goals he scored. Um, but yeah, I just hope his back's all right because it was quite a jar. Again, another chance that we had, which was, he was unlucky. He was like an inch away from that, and that goes in. And there was one thing that just other than his goal really summed up his performance was when second half the ball went over the top and that defender had ages just for the ball to bounce down. And Wilson was like, "I'm not letting you have it that easy," and he just pressed him and pressed him all the way, and he managed to get a throw in, which was out of nothing. And it's that kind of intensity that he brings when he's up front on his own, isolated at times. That just he's just an absolute player, isn't he? And I think we'll be very lucky to keep him, and I hope we do. And in the meantime, I hope he keeps scoring us goals because I think we're gonna. I think all the rumours and noise coming out is we are looking at another forward or someone who can play up top or out wide, somewhere like that. So he does need a hand in competition, but 7 goals already this season. He's on course for like 13, 15 goals at this rate, I think it is. Long may it continue, and that's all we wanted when we signed a striker. We weren't asking for much for 2 seasons.
No, just someone to replicate what Ross Stewart looked like he was able to do. And I think Ross was on like 10 and 11 or something like that at the time. So, and there's an argument to say that Ross wouldn't have continued at quite that level because it's hard to do. So I think someone who can score 13 to 15 goals would do us. And if someone can come in and help him with that, and my end, can get himself up to like 7 or 8 by the end of the season. And, hopefully Aaron Connolly can add a couple extras to his total as well. I know he's kind of been forgotten about, but hasn't really been given much of a shot on the pitch. So, maybe he can do something later on in the season when we least expect it. But I'm asking for some questions from listeners, so we'll go through them, Dave. The one that's coming through a lot is 4-4-2, the way forward. I feel like I might be asking Mike Bassett this, Dave, but I'm oh my God, I'm actually asking Dave Lawrence, is 4-4-2 the way forward, mate?
I think the way football's evolved, unfortunately, it's not. It was quite exciting tonight to see it. I'd imagine oppositions will work it out very quickly. But yeah, I think we all noticed that Mayenda needed to be playing through the middle. Probably didn't quite expect him to do it with two up top, but fair play. Mayenda's getting his goal. That'll give him a huge lift. Wilson, I tell you what, there's something for a stato. When was the last time two centre forwards from the same team scored in a game together? because I tell you what, it must be a while. It must be a while. When was the last time we actually played 2 out-and-out centre forwards?
Boxing Day, Ellis Sims, Ross Stewart, Blackburn 2-1.
Fair enough. How long ago was that?
2 years ago.
2 years. Jeez, I mean that's a decent old time in between bagging, isn't it? So I'm not adverse to it, but I certainly don't think we did like a little bit of control in the middle of the park tonight, didn't we? And that's what that extra man in there does for you. I'm not adverse to it, but I can't believe I'm talking myself out of it. There'll be listeners out there around about the same age as me going, "Oh yeah, man, Dave, 4-4-2's the way forward. That was class tonight." Yeah, maybe it's not so much, but I'll take the victory and move on.
I think when it comes to that particular question, I think in some games it can be, because there has been tonight against what I think is arguably the best side in the league. I know they've got a couple of injuries and stuff, but I think they're right up there. You could say maybe Leeds are better, whichever way you swing. But it worked tonight. It can work in other games, but I think it's important that we're able to have different formations and different ways of playing. We talked about Regis sometimes being a little bit stubborn in the past, and I think again he was a little bit late to make subs tonight. I've got to be honest with you. I thought that again, but then I looked at the subs bench and I thought, well, who do you realistically bring on to change this? Because I don't know enough about Aaron Connolly to say he's not good enough, but he's a different player to what Mayenda's going to give you and what Wilson's going to give you. And there's something that I quite like about Leo Yelder coming on for like the last 15 minutes. It gives me a bit of a giggle. Performed quite well when he came on, to be fair to him, but there wasn't a great deal he could have really brought on, I thought. We know what the injuries are like. We know the squad is a little bit stretched, but there's a really good question, which I think I wish we always felt like this after every result, because I'm weirdly starting to feel like this after every result, even the annoying ones at the Blackburn game especially. Someone's asked, is this the most likeable Sunderland squad ever? I don't know if ever, because I live between the Kevin Phillips and Niall Quinn era, and I really, really liked them both for really obvious reasons. And I liked Summerby, and I liked Johnson, and I liked Kevin Ball. I love Kevin Ball. Loved Alex Ray, Jody Craddock, all those sort of players. But I do feel like with this team, even when it's not as good as tonight, and we've drew a game or we've lost in the last minute at Stoke, I get as hurt for them as I do for myself, which has not always been the case. Like, I actually trust the lads that put the shirt on, even the ones that I don't think are necessarily great players, and there's a couple of them. I trust the lads, the entirety of them that are in the squad, apart from maybe Pervader, because I don't know much about him either, that they're going to put a shift in and they're going to try. And if they make a mistake, it's not going to be because they can't be arsed or they're lazy. It might just be down to lack of quality, lack of experience, making the wrong decision. So yeah, you know what? I don't think the most likable team ever, because like I say, I lived in I was so lucky to grow up in like the late 90s, early 2000s and seeing just the most amazing players, probably the best players in the last 30 years that Sunderland have had. But this set of players are really likable. I want them to win for them as well as me, and as well as for the city, and as well as for the community in the town. But I can forgive them when they don't, because I don't think they're doing the town, the city, the club, or anyone involved in it a disservice. I think it's just lack of quality, lack of experience, or one of them things. So yeah, you know, for me, I think they're a massively likable team, and I love watching Sunderland play, and that includes, you know, when we concede late on. At the minute, I really like what's in front of me, and after years of watching League One football and Josh Gowan and Jack Rodwell and Brian Oviedo walking through this club and taking thousands off us, like, I'll accept a mistake from like an Eliza Mayenda in a game against Blackburn, because I know for a fact a couple of games later he's going to work his bollocks off and he could even get man of the match because these players want to be here. So yeah, look, they're a really likable team is what I'm trying to say, and we should be really proud of them and we should be really happy with where the club's at. I know we want us to be better and we want to be automatic promotion contenders and we want to go up and we want to be, you know, as high as we possibly can be, but we've got a team to really be proud of, and a set of players that really want to be here, and that's not always been the case, and in fact it's often not the case. So it's a big reason to be happy, and I love being a Sunderland fan at the minute. It's great. But Ross, before I start crying and making this into a emotional end to the pod, let's find a real quick question to kind of deviate away from the conversation before people start subscribing. we've come out of a really tricky period in a great position. Should we go balls out in January to give ourselves a real chance?
Yes. We'll never have a better opportunity.
I'm with you on that because I feel you can't pick and choose when you get promoted. It would be great if like it was an American system and you could just finish lower down the table and pick up the best like draft the next year and X, Y, and Z. But this is English football. If you've got a chance of going up automatically, you've got to try your very best to get to it. I don't know if you agree with me on this, Ross, but look, if we miss out on automatics and spend decent money but finish fourth, I think Dave said before in a couple of episodes ago, if we aim for the stars and then miss it, to use a cliche, and end up in the playoffs, I don't think anyone's going to fancy us in the playoffs, Ross. And I think we'd stand
No,
a decent chance.
especially at home, like everyone will be dreading coming to the stadium like the way we're playing, 100%. But you don't have to spend money. Just get good loans in from the Premier League. Like when, just be sensible. You know, like Ipswich last year, they went and got Kiefer Moore. He got the job done. You know what I mean? They were sensible about who they brought in, and as long as you're sensible and you're targeting the right areas, then yeah, go for it and make sure you keep a hold of your players you've got now.
Rashford, maybe?
Don't think. Still, again, I don't think he gets in ahead of Mundle and Watson when the back fit. I reiterate that.
All right, we'll just do that, then you'll want to come home probably. But look, before we go, we've got a minute or so left because I'm not going to pay for premium. Sorry, no New Year's resolution to change it there. And also, I'm stumbling on my words because my throat is really hurting. But well done, Pato. What a good game from him tonight. We give him some pelters, but fair play, lads. Pato was great tonight. Wasn't he dead brave at the end with his tackle and his save? He made a good save, I think, early in the second half. And of course, he saved the penalty. So, look, we can't leave without giving Pato a little bit of a pat on the head, can we?
I see what you did there. Very good. He was brilliant today. Good penalty save and bravery at the end was massive. Took the pressure off us. But yeah, brilliant.
Sure.
Can't ask for much more.
No, can't. 3 points, brilliant, fantastic. See you all Sunday. Hopefully, we'll be back. And the flus completely came out of our house, and we'll be back in my normal seat because I hate watching the game on telly. It's shite. But Ross, Dave, everyone listening, please subscribe and Happy New Year.
There's a New Year's resolution.
Fucking right, it is.
Well, lads.
Well, lads.